Hi everyone, I'm Ben Gonzalez and this is TDI. So there's a lot to keep track of when you're buying a home, and one of the things that we hope is already on your list is thinking about insurance coverage. And joining us today to offer some insight is Cindy Bulla, the chairman of Texas Realtors. Hi Cindy, thanks for being here.
Hi, Ben. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Well, buying a home is, of course, obviously a big investment, probably the biggest for most people, and you want to make sure that it's got coverage, insurance coverage. So, what's important for home buyers to understand or know about insurance, especially those first-time home buyers?
So, Ben, as Texas Realtors, we're not insurance experts, but we
Right.
are trained to know what questions to coach our buyers to ask their insurance agents who are the experts. And so, most of us will have a list of questions that we urge our buyers to ask. And oftentimes, the first and only question that's asked of those insurance experts is, what's the premium? But we know there's a lot more to it than just what's the
Right.
premium.
Yeah, we always tell people that premium is obviously important. If you can't afford it, you can't get it, but you want to make sure you're comparing apples to apples with different policies. Um,
Exactly.
Another thing we always want to stress, or we do here at the Department of Insurance, is that flood is not part of the standard homeowners policy, and that's very important as we've seen this season. There's been so much tropical activity and so much flooding along the coast. Um, do realtors hear other misconceptions from clients about insurance?
Ben, they do, and a lot of those misconceptions involve that flood coverage or the idea that they don't think they need it if they don't live on the coast or if they don't live at or near
In a
a
flood
river or
zone?
stream or lake.
Hmm.
And we know and we coach them to have that conversation that there's probably not a property in Texas that couldn't possibly flood. So we urge them to have that conversation. And as for misconceptions, there are many. That's why we have them talk about coverages and especially exclusions. A lot of times there's confusion about whether mold damage or water damage is covered. And another common misconception, we typically here in Texas oftentimes the seller will offer a service contract or what we call a
Yeah.
home warranty. And oftentimes these buyers get that confused with insurance coverage. So again, we coach them to talk to the experts in those fields and make sure they know what coverages they have and especially what coverages they don't have.
Wow, you guys are really partners for us. Those are kind of the same things that we want to tell people about as well. And so point them to our website. We have stuff about the warranty versus insurance. So I'm sure a lot of clients want to know where the schools are, where the grocery stores are, and what kind of amenities are around the property. Do they ever ask about safety issues like access or fire stations?
So it's been my experience that they rarely do ask that question until frequently when they're outside the city limits, they're purchasing thinking one of the benefits of that is no city taxes. But let's say they call their insurance agent and they get a much higher quote than they were expecting. That's when they would ask the question. And of course, we coach them to go back to the agent and discuss the risk model that was used to come up with that premium. And frequently that's when they discover the absence or the distance or proximity of those safety features.
Yeah, the insurance agent is going to be your best source on a lot of that. So we encourage people to ask questions for sure.
Absolutely. Oftentimes we underestimate, of course, we as realtors know the value of a professional because we know what we do in our profession, but we also understand what we don't know. So we like to be the source of the source and guide them to those professionals in their fields. And we typically underestimate the value of a really good insurance agent until we get into those questions.
Yeah. Okay. Do you ever encourage clients to look at a clue report to see if there's been other claims on a property?
Absolutely. Frequently, we will have them do that first. We will have them contact that agent and do it first. So what we do is we coach a buyer as soon as they're under contract within that option period to do all the least expensive or the no cost things first, all of the homework and background that we need to do on those properties first. And one of those things would be a clues report, which is free and gives them an idea about past claims so that they can ask about not only about how that will affect the premium on the new policy, but they can ask about the work that was done, whether warranties came with that work, and all the things that would go with the conversation regarding a repair or a fix or a damage that occurred previously that you might not be able to see.
Right. So that could either be a red flag, a non-starter, or something that you use as information.
Exactly.
Okay. Very good. Anything else about insurance that you wish more people knew or find it interesting?
Just that it's a lot more complicated than it sounds. It's more than a premium. It's very complicated. And so I wish people would, and again, we coach them to do that, would shop for their insurance like they shop for their realtor, or they shop for their other large investments. Because even though the premium might not be large in the big scheme of things, it's huge when it comes claim time. You've got to make sure you have the right coverage at the right time for the right risk.
Yeah, and I guess as we were talking about earlier, finding out how much the insurance costs are going to be is going to weigh into how much house you can afford.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Ben, because it is huge. The prices are going up and up and up due to low supply and high demand. And it's beginning to price our Texas wage earners out of the market because we just don't have enough supply. So what we look at are all the cost components of owning a home, and that includes property taxes. That's the one that typically takes the most oxygen in the room. But then you look at insurance costs, and it's critical. So as Texans, and certainly as Texas Realtors, part of our job is to inform Texans about all those components of affordability and make sure that we work together to keep those rates as low as we can by mitigating losses and watching for risks components, and really working together with our fellow Texans and with TDI to make sure that we keep insurance as affordable as it can be for the coverage and the risk that we have here in Texas.
Yeah, and certainly if people have never had to buy home insurance in the past, Texas has all the risks out there with, hail, tornadoes, floods. So it's going to be, it could be a surprise.
Hurricanes brings me to something we didn't talk about, and that is the Texas Windstorm Insurance.
Oh, sure.
And that adds a component to a certain number of coastal counties. It's yet another insurance policy, and therefore yet another insurance premium. And in some of those areas, it's a pretty significant premium that adds to the cost of owning a home in those areas. And there's a lot of confusion among our consumers and about what covers what, where the TWIA policy stops and the flood policy starts, and how the homeowner's policy fits within that. And that's just another argument for why you need a really knowledgeable agent to sort of guide you through that and know what your coverages are when you buy the policy, and what your rights are when you need to use that policy.
Well, Cindy, thanks for joining us today. If people want to learn more about Texas Realtors or finding a realtor, what should they do?
So what you can do is go to texasrealestate.com. That has a find a realtor function. It has all of the information about our association and what it does in the realm of advocacy, what it does in the realm of consumer services and realtor services. It's a great place to start, and there are lots of links there that will get you where you want to go. That's texasrealestate.com.
Perfect. Okay, thanks, Cindy. And if you have questions about insurance, like your home policy, you can go to our website, which is tdi.texas.gov. Or if you have a specific question and want to talk to somebody, you can call our helpline, which is 1-800-252-3439. So for Cindy Bulla, I'm Ben Gonzalez, and this is TDI.